Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March 23rd, 2023 Wiseburn Unified School District Board meeting. I am calling this meeting to order at 5 p.m. sharp. Wendy, do we have any public comments on closed agenda items?
I do not have any public comments.
Okay, thank you. We will now recess to closed session and we will reconvene back at p.m. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March 23rd, 2023 Wiseburn Unified School District Board meeting. I also want to welcome those joining us online. Before we get started today, we have a special dedication this evening to Ken Brown. Ken Brown passed away today suddenly. Ken Brown was a board member for Da Vinci and also a board member for El Camino Community College. So our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. I know if any of my colleagues have any comments to make, I know Roger, you served on the board with Ken. You can certainly do so.
Yeah, thank you, Nelson. Just wanted to open this meeting, as Nelson said, and dedicated to Ken Brown. He was a trustee at Da Vinci Schools, who I had the pleasure of working with on the board for close to 2 years. I really want to thank him for his volunteer and time spent for the betterment of our community and all of our students, and also for his involvement at El Camino College. I know he's a trustee there, and we were able to have some conversations on how do we improve our community from K-12 and Da Vinci over to our local community college. I know he was always an advocate and a supporter of our schools and our community. So thoughts and prayers to Ken's family, and really thank him for his service.
Thank you, Roger. Any other comments?
No.
Thank you. Thank you. Tonight we have a full agenda. We have 3 special presentations. First presentation will be from Christine White, our financial auditor, providing an overview of our fiscal year 22 financial activities. Our second presentation will be done by our very own Dr. Harbach, who will be talking about Title I and giving us a little bit more of a description about the Title I program. And our final presentation will be done by Dr. Silvers on the preschool program. Wendy, could you please take roll call?
Mr. Van Willis,
Here.
Dr. Goldman,
I'm here.
here, Mr. Martinez.
Here. And Dr. Dougal, would you do us the honors of leading us?
Ready, begin.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We did have a closed session. We did have closed session this evening, and we do not have any items to report out. And I guess now we'll go ahead and start with if I have a motion to adopt the agenda. Thank you, Joanne.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Right. Wendy, do we have any public comments on non-agenda items?
Yeah, any public comments? I have one present here in the boardroom, none online.
Okay. Welcome, Mr. Vicente Bravo.
Bravo, yes, B-R-A-V-O. Good evening. I know you got a full agenda, so I'm going to tear right through this, and I've got some really interesting and fun news for you. So greetings, Dr. Silvers, Board President Martinez, board members, cabinet members, members of the audience, and those of you out in the virtual world. I'm here to share some really wonderful news that this past weekend, the Wiseburn Da Vinci World Champion Team 4201, the Vitruvian Bots, won the Los Angeles Regional's Engineering Inspiration Award, which is a championship qualifying award for the first World Championships Robotics, which means that we get to go to Houston again, April 19th through the 22nd to represent that. So one of the reasons, so I asked what contributed to that type of award, and basically it was the fact that we have welcomed numerous teams to the site before the regional. So over the last, since January, when the new competition was put out, teams from all over came over. So before the competition even happened this last weekend, we had over 30 teams, including the international teams from Taiwan and Turkey, that had access to our practice field currently located in the sandbox, machinery, tools, and support from our own team members to participate in the regional this year. So basically, one of the comments that came out from the judges was that what they saw was that we serve as a regional hub for the Southern California robotics community, with teams like Terawatts from Compton, Torbots from Torrance, High Tide from Ventura, Jetstream from Palos Verdes, Beach Cities, which is Maricosta and Redondo Beach Union High School, and Nerd Herd from CAMS in Carson, Long Beach, just to name a few of the regulars that come here on a regular ongoing basis, which shows that our program impacts not just the local Weisman community, but a broader community in inspiring engineering and promoting that throughout, which is a big win for Weisburn and Da Vinci. One other award that we got this week, or that was announced, was that one of our students, Naomi Uehara, is a finalist for the Dean's List. And as a finalist, she will be in contention at Houston to be the World Champ Dean's List Award winner if she succeeds there. So that was huge. We wanted to congratulate the regional winners that won at the LA Regional today that are going to be going to Houston. Team 687, right nearby here, the Nerd Herd, which I mentioned, which is California Academy of Math and Science. Team 5199, Robot Dolphins from Outer Space, and from Capistrano Unified School District, and Team 702, Bagel Bites from Culver City High School. And the first Impact Award winner, which is the other award you can win that gets you a bid to Houston, were the Robo Nerds from Benjamin Franklin High School in LA. So congratulations to all those teams who are also going there. This time I was hoping to introduce a couple of the students who were going to come tonight. Had I known they were going to show up, I would have dragged Wendy's son and my son over here, because they would have had no choice but to arrive here. And just to share, the highlights from the weekend, I was also going to have Rebecca share too, because she came with her son. I don't know if any of you were able to come or not, because I was running around on my scooter, back and forth between the main building and the gym. But the event was amazing. The compliments we get, people think this is a private school. They ask how much it costs to go here. So I tell them it's very expensive because the government pays for our kids to go here, and you know how much they like to pay for things. But they had a great time. And now one of the things I was sharing with someone sharing is it's not so much that we want to go to Houston, it's that they get to be there because the experience is just incredible. It's amazing. So I want to thank everyone for their ongoing support. In particular, we want to thank Millennium Space Systems for the use of the overflow parking lot. We used all of our spaces plus an additional 190 spaces that we needed. So that was great. Thank you. Thank you for the Weisburn Education Foundation for running a very successful snack shack, which grossed over $8,000, which is fantastic. To the El Segundo Police Department and Fire Department for the use of their gigantic grill. So we were able to cook hundreds, if not thousands, of hot dogs and burgers for the thousands of participants that came by. And also thank you to board members and others who came and visited. I know Blake stopped by as well. And you see this gym transform. So we're putting together a stop action showing the gym being transformed into the robotics thing. We'll have that available to you as soon as that gets done. And the last thing I want to do is invite you all, if you have a chance, even as suggest for a day, to come out to Houston. I kid you not, it's an experience that is beyond this. You can't even imagine what it's like. There are over 450 teams from everywhere around the world. It's amazing. It's competitive, but there's they have something called cooperation, which is cooperation and competition, because you don't compete by yourself. You're in an alliance. You're a team of 3 or 4. So if you can go, and then if you want to get the gear, which I'm sporting here tonight, there is a apparel shop. So I will give Wendy the link so you can dress up. You'll fit right in, and it would be great. I kid you not. If there's one event that I think is just life altering, even if it's just for a day, to come by, check it out. I know some of you had kids there too. It's just amazing. So had to share that good news with everyone, and want to thank everyone. It's just fantastic. So thank you.
The robotics program is a wonderful program. I've had a chance to attend events in the past, and congratulations to the reigning champs and a lot of pressure for them to do it again, right? There's probably never been a repeat, so.
No, and the last time they did it, it was all 4 teams were from California, which is unprecedented because when you have teams from everywhere, it's insane to think that you get all 4 of them in California and they were recognized by the individual mayors of the towns and the governor. So
Do
there
you
you
know who the partners are this time?
No, it's a mixed match during the qualifications, which is why you have to be nice to everybody. Because you're never gonna know who you're gonna end up with as your partner. There's a lot of scouting that takes place, a lot of like, hey, look at our robot, look at what we can do, look at your robot, look what we can do, so. A lot of friendliness, and then it gets
I've had an
competitive.
opportunity to go to Houston about 3 years ago when my son Eric was on the
Yes.
World Championship Robotics team. So incredibly proud of the program and everything. And yes, and if anyone can go, it is a life-changing experience, especially for students. It's absolutely wonderful to go and have an opportunity to see them compete at that level. It's absolutely amazing. Really, really good. So Vicente, would you mind please stepping back up to the podium? Sure. I just wanted to recognize you for all of your efforts and energies
thank you.
that you put into making the regional happen, because none of these things happen by themselves. And it's wonderful when we have community members or district staff, employees. I think you go above and beyond the work. Because I think you genuinely care for the success of all of our students, and you've done it year after year. I remember the first time when you brought up that topic, like, hey, Roger, we're gonna have a region here. Like, are you kidding? Why do we get a region on here? So going back like in history of our trajectory of developing our local high school, right? And being a K-8 to having our own local high school, and now being able to host regional events and being the hub that winning an inspiration award is absolutely phenomenal. So a lot of people contribute and are partners in this, and you're certainly one of those, Vicente. I wanted to just publicly thank you for all the work that you do day in and day out.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you for your support, and I'm fortunate that I have good people that work that make me look good, director of facilities, Jonathan's counterparts, the IT people and our safety people. They don't just love our facilities, they love our people, and that's what and our parents, and that's what makes them want to keep coming back here. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, because it is fun and I enjoy doing this for them. So gracias.
Stay on that scooter.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you, I'll have hips and knees till I'm 70 if I keep that scooter.
Thank you. No further public comments. Wendy?
That's all I have.
All right. Dr. Silvers, I'll now turn it over to you for introductions of our three special presentations. I guess we'll start with the first.
Start with the first one. I think we are going to, so this is, we actually got a waiver to extend the deadline to submit our audit, to complete our audit. And so just, it's been great working with Christy White and Associates through this process. Just excited, we have an unmodified opinion, so very happy. I guess I don't want to spoil the show.
Okay.
So let's bring, I think it's John is here.
It's Vanessa Pineda.
Oh, Vanessa's.
Bring her over.
Yeah, we're in.
The Jeopardy music or something.
And that's a good looking participant audience out there, isn't it?
Vanessa, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Welcome.
Welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen. I have a small presentation. I feel like it makes the report a little bit understand. So give me a second. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vanessa Pineda. I'm from Christie White Associates, and I will be presenting the 2022 fiscal audit report for Wiseburn Unified. So before I go into the audit report, I just wanted to provide an overview of what the responsibilities are for the district and then the responsibilities of the auditors. So the district is responsible for maintaining effective internal controls, compiling financial statements, and preparing and managing the budget. So us as auditors, when we come in and review all the information, we provide our opinion on our review, and we provide reasonable assurance that the financial statements are materially correct. So our opinion does not address the financial condition of the district, but if there were any going concerns, we would definitely include these in the audit report. So our first opinion is found on page 1, so right in the front of the audit report. And this is one out of the 3 opinions. So our first opinion is of the financial statements. So as you guys can see, it was the best opinion you can receive. So it was unmodified opinion. The financial statements are presented fairly in non-material respects and are in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the USA. Our second letter, it's not an opinion, but we use our testing of internal controls to provide an opinion on the financial statements. So this can be found at the back of the audit report on page 71. So just an overview of what we're doing when we're reviewing internal controls. We're looking at cash, accounts payable, receivable, capital assets, long-term debt, and any journal entry processes, just to name a few. We didn't note any significant deficiencies nor material weaknesses. So again, the best opinion you can receive. And then our second opinion is on federal testing. So we test a major program every year. It typically rotates every year. This for the 21-22 fiscal year, we tested the Education Stabilization Fund, which is also known as ESSER in year. As you all know, there was a lot of funding provided, from different sources of COVID related funds. So a majority of the funds for the federal compliance was for ESF. And then we have also the child nutrition cluster. We tested both programs and also had an unmodified opinion, which is the best you can receive. No significant deficiencies nor material weaknesses were noted. And this can be found on page 73. And then lastly, we have our third opinion, which is relating to state compliance. So as you guys can see, there's quite a few programs we are required to test by the state. If it says not applicable, it's the reason may be because the district doesn't receive that funding or the program is not run by the district. So we also had an unmodified opinion. No significant deficiencies nor material weaknesses were noted, but we did have a finding that I'll review at the end of my presentation. And then this page is the summary of audit results. This pretty much summarizes all the opinions that I just spoke about, and it can be found on page 80. So I call this the cheat sheet of the audit report because it summarizes everything and provides it in a clear manner. So like I mentioned, there's 3 opinions: financial statements, federal awards, and state awards. All were clean opinions, which is the best opinion you can receive. We did have one finding relating to state awards, which I'll go over right now. So this finding was for the transportation maintenance of effort. So just a little overview of why we're testing this area for transportation per Ed Code 2575K and 42238.03A6B. Funds a school district receives for home to school transportation programs shall be expended no less for those programs that the amount of funds the school district expended for home to school transportation in 12-13. So just to summarize that, pretty much the funding that was received in 12-13, the maintenance of effort for that for transportation must be met every year. So every year we're testing to make sure that the funds received in 12-13, that more expenditures were expended in that fiscal year. So during our review of the 12-13 transportation funding and the current year transportation expenditures, we noted that in the current year, the district did not expend an amount equal to or greater than that amount. So the difference that we noted was 1,307. So this is included as the question cost. So what we recommend is that the district implement procedures to verify that the district meets this maintenance of effort requirement. And typically during the closing process, they can review this to make sure that they're meeting that minimum required amount. So we also provide an opportunity for the district to provide a response to the audit and also how they will plan on implementing procedures to minimize this finding or completely avoid it in the future years. So the district will verify during the end of year closing that all expenditures within this function are being verified and ensuring compliance with the ed code that I just mentioned. So other than that, we didn't note any other findings. This is the only finding related to state awards. I'll go ahead and open it up for any questions to the, from the public or the board members. And then lastly, I just wanted to say thank you to Jason and the staff and also the school site staff. I think you guys know a little bit about auditing, you know about looking at the financials and looking at the numbers, but we also do a lot of state compliance testing, which this definitely is a lot of coordination between the district and the site staff. So we appreciate how easy they made the process and how quickly they were able to provide all the documents we requested. So I'll go ahead and open it up for any questions, but I just wanted to express my gratitude.
Vanessa, thank you for the presentation. I have 2 questions, but I'll hold off my questions and defer to my colleagues first.
Okay, thanks.
Joanne?
No, I want to compliment Jason and our staff for, just as you said, their cooperation, their knowledge, their ability to, their knowledge of our reporting and their knowledge of how to respond to an audit appropriately and in a timely manner. So kudos to our team and thank you to Christy White and you, Vanessa, to help us clear the decks here to see that the results were so positive. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Nelson.
Thank you. Thank you, Joanne. And I also echo Joanne's sentiments as well. Vanessa, I have 2 questions with regards to the finding. If my understanding is correct, the district is being punished for being cost effective, if you will, right? We actually saved some money the year before in transportation costs and the special ed, right? So is that correct?
Something like that, yeah. So they just want to make sure that, the funding, once the revenue limit was, ended and it went towards LCFF, that effort of maintenance is still, still practice every year. So even if there's no funding directly provided for transportation, they still want to make sure that the district is expending at least that amount or greater. So it would be something like special education, right? That maintenance of effort, making sure that every year there is expenditures that are being met. But yeah, something like that. They want to make sure that, if it was $1,000 that were received in 12-13, making sure that that amount is being spent every year.
I do have a question on the 12-13. It said fiscal year 12-13. I'm confused by a decade ago.
Yeah, so that's when revenue limit ended and LCFF was implemented. So because LCFF was implemented, there is no specific funding for transportation. So since there isn't a specific funding now being allocated for that, they still want to verify that every district is still expending the amount that they received in 12-13. So since the revenue limit ended, we've been testing this state compliance requirement every year. So every year, the district has met this requirement. So it was just last year that it wasn't met. It might have been just oversight when allocating some of the transportation function expenditures. That could be the case. It was such a minimal amount that that probably is what happened. Typically we see that districts meet this requirement. Like I said, we've been doing this since the implementation of LCFF. So yeah, it seems like a long time, but every year since LCFF has been implemented, we've been testing for this.
Statute limitations keep extending and expanding. The other quick question that I had, and I know I see these audit reports year after year, but I wasn't familiar with the term best opinion possible. Is that a new term or have we been using that in the past?
No, the opinion would be unmodified. So we just put best opinion because sometimes, they're like, what does unmodified mean? Is it good or bad? So we just want to make sure to make it obvious to, the audience and the board members that that's the best opinion you can receive.
Okay, great. Well, thank you again, and thank you to our team as well on the good work. So thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. Thank you all.
Lake. All right. presentation.
Okay. So, Roger, last week or last meeting, I guess, we had talked about a few presentations and we felt it was a good time now as we're leading into the end of the as we're getting closer to the end of the year that we provide this information sooner because we'll be budgeting, for next year here soon. So Eileen is going to present on Title I.
Thank you.
So, good evening. I do have a few slides. Title I is been around since 1965. We go to the next slide. And it really is the largest federal assistance program in the nation and continues to be so. The focus, one more, I'm sorry. The focus or purpose of Title I is to help meet the educational needs of students in California. And there is a specific group that we look at with Title I. So Title I allows schools to receive extra funding. This is outside of other dollars that we do receive. It's specific. The Title I dollars, you can see there on the right, are really focused on identified students who are experiencing academic difficulties and to provide assistance to these students. This often happens through additional staff. It's also we are allowed to purchase additional materials for this and to conduct parent education evenings or activities. But there's accountability with every funding that comes from the government. So I just want to touch on this because there are parameters that we have to stay within with Title I. So on the left there, on the bottom left, the Consolidated App, or what's known as the CON app, is what we complete every single year. And this allows us to identify what students will bring in the Title I dollars. And this happens through CalPADS, which is how we keep track of our pupil numbers. But our estimates for Title I funding come in through the CON app and are basically told to us. And I'll explain how that works as well. And from that point, we're allowed to either go school-wide or for targeted. And if you remember, the school board did approve school-wide earlier this year, and we do that every year as part of a waiver. School-wide allows us to bring in support that can benefit all students at the school as opposed to targeted, which would just be our students who are identified as low income. Up at the top there, supplant versus supplemental versus supplant. This means that we really can't go outside and replace something we've already purchased. We can't bring in something that we already have going, say an extra music teacher. We already provide that as a district. So Title I allows us to bring in things we don't already have extra support, things that might not have been available without the funding. So what we tend to do now, if you look at what we are spending our Title I dollars on, are our response to intervention teachers. So we have our intervention teachers going for grades 3 through 5 at ANZA, and also at 138 for the last couple of years. Now I'll explain how that changed this year as well. We also have been able to purchase some math resource materials, and this goes through the schools as well. Reporting there on the right goes strictly through our school improvement plan, or our SIPSAs. Those also were approved by the school board earlier this year. These engage are drafted through a school survey, student data outcomes, and the school site council does final approval at the school site with the principal. We also bring to the board of trustees. So this slide is always a little tricky because it goes through the history, and I just want to spend a few minutes here. But on the left there, you'll see our 3 school sites that are eligible for Title I or are now eligible. So I just want to go through each one. In 2019-20, we were over the 35% mark for Title I. And in order to get funding for a site, you have to be over 35%. So even if you're under the district total, which at the bottom there was 37.72%, you can still receive the funding if you're at 35%, but you have to have the code A, which means it's a discretionary code, which just means you went under the district, but you're still over 35. So I just put that in there. So the next year when we came up against this, we found that our numbers had dropped. And if you recognize that year, that was our year of school closure. So we went well below what we needed to receive Title I. In fact, ANZA was at 34%, 138th was at 32%, and Dana even was at 33%. The overall district was at 32.12. So, yes.
So I'm there. Do we qualify, or does each school site need to qualify for Title I, or
it goes both ways.
District-wide?
It's both. You have to, there has to be a number that the district, if the school is over 35% and still under what the district is, it can qualify. So as if this overall, it does have to do with the overall, but We can't go too low, the district, unless we can't go below 35%.
The numbers you were just sharing, I weren't, reconcile that with this, if you would, I missed it.
Oh, so I gave you lower numbers because what I'm pointing out on 2020, 2021 is we were allowed to use the year before numbers.
That's what
And
the-
so I have arrows there. I never supposed to slide in and be
That actually
fancy,
helped
but
us.
we are on PDF, so they didn't.
That actually helped us significantly.
It did, and that's a rule that we can. So, Dr. Goldman, I don't want to be confusing here, but I'm not totally able to answer that question about if we, I know as a district, we are allowed to go under 35% if the schools go over 35%. So there's equations involved with this. In 21, 22, we came back up. We were at 31% for ANZA, but they were still below the 35%. So I was allowed to use a grandfather code, and that's where you see the E, and you're allowed to use that for 1 year to keep the school in balance. So we did grandfather ANZA at that point. They received $120,000. 138th did hit the 35%. District went low. We went a little low that year, 34.52%, but our schools were okay. I put Dana in there just to show you where they sat. Now, we have traditionally put the Title I funding in our lower grades to give kids a quick, an early start. That's where all the funding has typically gone with Title I. And you can do this even if you rank schools. For instance, Dana has a higher number. You can rank them by elementary, and then you can rank them by middle. And we only have one middle school, so we don't have to compete there. But in our lower grades, schools you have to always give to the highest school and rank them from there. So in 2021, we were allowed to grandfather ANZA. We brought in 138th, and Dana stayed on the books, but we didn't fund it. We kept with the Title I to allow our schools to continue with their RTI teachers and their math support systems. In 22-23, this year, you can see how low we went. So again, we went back and we picked up the numbers from the year before, but we couldn't keep ANZA on the books because they had already grandfathered. I know this is very confusing. There's a lot of rules with Title I. So we went back and we said, all right, we want to keep 138th in there, and now we'll put Dana online. So we're able to do that. Dana is this year going to be considered a Title I school. It's in their SIPSA, and they've written it, and they are going to, they have that in process now. And ANZA is going to benefit still. We'll make sure that they have their RTI teachers in place, and Jason's working on that for funding. So our total, if you look at the bottom there, is 29.32%. So I want to point out too, if you look at the dollar amounts, and I have TBA for this year because the CONAP is greatly delayed. We normally get it around February, and we still haven't gotten it, January actually, and we still haven't gotten it for whatever reason. The state's holding back on giving the true numbers for Title I, but we have an estimate that we received earlier in the year. It can change through the year. We tend to get more when June comes in. But this year we're about $189,000. So it's lower if you look at our total number, and I'll just give you from 2019-20, we were at $290,000. And this year we're at 189. We're down about 30,000 a year. And so when we asked the state what was going on with this, the answer we got was really compelling. It's that the numbers don't always matter. What we see up there on the screen with the amount of students in a school who are identified as low income, it has to do with your census poverty rate locally. So within your eligible attendance area. So those numbers are taken into 13. So that is how they do it. And for Whitesburg Unified School District, they're 2 years in arrears on this too. So for this year, in fact, we're being counted with the 21-22 census data. And they do that. And it's a good question. How do they do this? I went through and I looked and looked. And I believe it has to do with income tax. It has to do with if families are on food stamps and extra funding and things like that. So they take that all into the census data. We are at 5.6. If we go below 5, we risk really losing all Title I. So our community has changed, and that's what it has to do with.
So the formula is based on the community in which the schools are at, not necessarily where the community where the students are coming from.
That's correct. And the numbers you're seeing up there are the students that we educate.
Right.
So very different.
So it's all from as well as residents?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they do not consider, like Roger said,
The total amount.
beyond the boundaries.
So we've been losing about 30,000 a year. Now I want to talk on the next, if it's all right, can I go to the next slide?
Just a quick
Okay.
question on the, I thought 35% was the threshold.
It isn't
How are we getting money below 35?
because our schools are over 35%.
They're using data from.
Because our schools,
I see, where these
Yeah.
21, I'm sorry, thank you.
that's okay. No. It's really a lot. It's a lot to look over.
And I mean, on here, maybe I missed it. Cabrillo's not on here?
Cabrillo is down to 22%, 23%. Yeah, they lost their Title I some time ago and that's when I believe when Anza was brought online at that time. And that had to be probably 12 years ago, I think. Yeah, a while ago.
So as we look forward, I mean, it looks like. we'll probably Not be eligible for Title I program.
Well-
In the direction we're going.
Well, we believe that families haven't been given the advantage of time to complete these forms. And so the next slide, I can speak to that in just a second. Is that okay?
Yes.
So what we realized is in August, the first day packets go out and they're quite large. And families are asked to complete a number of forms on our behalf about their students. One of the forms is called an alternate income form. And this form identifies if a family could be identified as low income or free and reduced lunch. And as you know, free and reduced lunch now is common to all students. So we have a low turnout on that form. But what we've decided is instead of putting that in with all the other forms and asking families to filter through and find this and take time for it, we're going to send it out in July. It's going to be a single form. And once it's filled out, should a family qualify, and I just want to remark here that it's not just about a free lunch anymore. It really is about an after-school program of childcare that's absolutely free to families called eLoop. And the eLoop program, once a family qualifies for low income, they have rights to this through sixth grade. So once that form is filled out, they're then asked to fill out the federal form. Federal form is very important because that allows us to provide this eLoop program. So that's going to happen in July. We're going to be able to understand who we have coming in, and if they need reminding or support, we can actually provide that at the schools where they'll have a place to go and use the computers if they need to. And so I mentioned eLoop there. And then number 3, we're going to continue to provide reminders throughout the summer and again in August to try and help families with these applications. So that's our plan. They did have some changes in rules this year, as they do every year, where the UPP, which is our unduplicated pupil percentage, is calculated differently and on a different day. And in the past, they've been on the same day. So there was some shuffling this year as well with that, where Census Day is our first Wednesday in October. That's when that hits. And that is our free and reduced lunch. Whereas the UPP, they give you a little more time, and that's the end of October, just what they're doing. So a little change there this year than what we've done before. Yes.
Is the UPP also self-reported, or is that, do we attain that through other means?
I'm thinking it's self-reported because it comes from our CalPads. It's the same. It comes from free and
Will this
reduced.
process affect that input as well?
Yes, because free and reduced lunch. Yeah. The families who qualify for low income. Right? Do you have any questions?
I'm also thinking though, UPP is also foster kids.
It is, and our English learners. Mhm.
Right, so I'm wondering if they would be less likely to complete the form given that status.
So we have also some plans on back to school night to have computers available. Our EL teachers who are, really wonderful about speaking with parents and working with them, making sure that reminders go out.
So just to reiterate to the important, the added benefit of the ELOP program, or we call it eLoop or ELOP?
That's a good question too.
All right.
That- It's
That's
one-
why you're choosing
one
one
O.
or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but with that program, being able to offer, daycare is expensive, so being able to offer that daycare at a free, essentially, people would have to fill out these forms in order to be eligible for that. So that's gonna help, I think, boost people's desire to actually fill out the form. Is that what you were saying?
I think, yeah, that would help. I think one thing would be interesting to track is what we've had in the past as the percentage of families who are responding. And this year.
Oh, it's a mandatory response in School Mint. So you fill out the form and it's a yes or a no. So everybody fills out the alternative income form.
Have we gotten 100% response in the past?
Well, you can't go on with School Mint if you don't.
Huh?
Yeah. you at least have to check yes or no. If you are yes, if it's a yes or you qualify, it will take you to the federal form. I just want to add to ELAB real quick. The Right at School program has been terrific. It's really been a huge help with this program, and we're looking forward to going with that in the future. Yes.
Question. So in terms of funding that we get annually, is it about 200,000? I didn't see the numbers.
It is, except this year, unless it changes in June, and it generally does go up in June. They just revise the number and we find out that there's a little more money. It's just over 189,000.
Okay, thank you.
And finally, one last thing is we've talked about supplemental funding in the past, which is distinct from Title I, distinct from UPP. What's the, is there? a connection?
Supplemental, good question. Supplemental is completely separate from Title I. Yeah. And that is considered part of our LCFF or general fund and how we use it. All right, thank you.
Dr. Harbeck, thank you for the presentation.
Wow.
Blake, third presentation, right?
So we're
You're up.
on to, we're on to 8.1. Not joking. All right. All right. What's that? I said we're going to. Do we have a spotlight? No. Does it work? Okay. Perfect. Okay, thank you. Okay, sorry, I just want to get comfortable here with the. All right, so we are going to present today. I'm going to present today. Really an update on where we currently are with our preschool program and looking forward, what we would do. I know that, we had discussed this at the last meeting was looking at a way that we could come back to the board with a solution on how to become break even. And just, I want to rewind probably about 2 years, or we're in 2025, probably 3 years now, three and a half years prior to the pandemic, when we were in a position to really want to grow our preschool program. We saw the numbers on the wait list were getting really high. We noticed that we're running out of room at some of our school sites to be able to offer that program. So we proposed an idea to the board at the time, which was to put a facility together for preschool over at the Del Aire campus. And so that was an initiative that we took on, back in 2019 and even on into early 2020. And then the world came to a screeching halt. And so we had already ordered, the facility had already ordered, some of the equipment. We had ordered some of although it did take 2 more years for it to actually reach us, but we did have the plans and the facilities out there put together. Unfortunately, couldn't use them for a while. During the pandemic, and so I guess to say that part of that process as we built the facility was putting together a business plan or business model that was always to be break even or better, that we would have a little bit of a reserve, that we'd be able to break even, that we'd be able to offer this program with little or no contribution from our general fund, from Fund 01. Then during the pandemic, towards the end of the pandemic, just a year or so ago, the legislature, 2 years ago, the legislature passed new TK laws. Those new TK laws were laws that now extend our offering of TK in our general schools, in our school district, to the age of 4. Now, those 4-year-olds were really the largest population that we had in our preschool. I mean, those were the students that were coming in, they were preparing for kindergarten or TK in preschool. And so the idea was build those 4-year-olds up, have our educators that we were able to work with and supervise to some degree, work into the TK program. So that was our big clientele base, at the time. So we lost that clientele base essentially, yet we still had the facility, right? So the last year or so, really it's been trying to right size that to kind of get us to a point where we could identify to the best of our ability how many 3-year-olds, now that's our sort of our new group of students, how many 3-year-olds would be there and be able to or would want to utilize the program, and then be able to make this a break even, program. Also, I want to share too that one of the challenges that we faced coming out of the pandemic was staffing. There's a very unique or very specialized license that you need as an employee to be a master educator there. So unfortunately, we couldn't even hire for one of the classrooms. So we did have a wait list because we couldn't, we just didn't have staff to be able to do that. So we do believe, I know Nisha and I have spent quite some time talking about this. you know, we are seeing a change in staffing, you know, in people applying for jobs and all of that. So we're definitely much more confident about the upcoming year and our ability to be able to staff, you know, the classrooms that we need. So those are just some of the precursors to the presentation. Sorry, I got on a tangent, but really looking at the agenda, wanted to talk about the benefits of our program, wanted to talk about the fiscal analysis. I think that's the most important on the business side of it. And then identifying the need for rate increase, some recommendations, and then how we're going to present to the board moving forward. So it's just really important to point out the benefits of preschool program. I mean, I did share that we want to be able to have students at a young age in our schools and to some degree to be able to bring them into our schools. But really, you know, when you look at the research, you look at these programs that provide a range of benefits for students and cognitive and behavioral maturity and building development, improve school readiness. You see better academic outcomes, not only in preschool, but as students go through school. Social and emotional development, which we know is super important right now, improvements of problem solving abilities. And really important, we talked about this last time, is that a lot of those students, when they start with us in preschool, we have the honor of being able to serve them as they go through their schooling experience. So looking at the financials, Fund 63, this is a snapshot. So you see the rows there, but the first column is at the adopted budget. The budget at that time showed a contribution from Fund 01 of $150,000. Then we brought back to this board at first interim that we were looking at a contribution of around 387. Let's just call it close to $400,000, and we knew that was a problem at that point. I mean, well, we saw this as a problem. And as I said, we've been trying to right size it. So as we move into second interim, we brought back to the board a better story. You know, we showed in the last board meeting that we had brought that down to about $200,000. I think that was part of our conversation last board meeting was, okay, how do we get better than that, right? How do we bring this number down to zero, essentially? But just want to still point out what the current enrollment and fees are. And I know this is a pretty busy slide. So I'll try and tour you through this in a way that's effective, because this is basically all of the costs. Let's look at let's look at the one-time registration slide. So we're seeing that there's 47. Oh, it's doing so well. 47 47 are enrolled in the program right now, and that's broken off across that third row down, right? So you could see if you add up the 19, the 4, the 11, the 9, and the 4, you'll get your 47. And there's an array of different registration fees are what I'm going to focus on. You know, you have your half-day models here with extended day, you have your totals, and then we have our full day. And again, those that have extended day and the full day as well, or extended care. So basically, when you add all of that up with the fees, we're bringing in about $423,000, $424,000. Now our expenditures are much higher than that. You see that 662,000 plus. So that's leaving us our deficit. So after we take all of these fees from these various different, you know, I guess choices, whether it be half day or full day, AM extra time, PM extra time, etc., we end up with a deficit. That's our current circumstance. I'm going to leave it, John, leave it maybe if there's any questions about the current model. It kind of goes right back to this. This is just a short version of that.
Dr. Silvers, are we not also mandated to provide this service for free to special ed students?
We are, but that's fun. That's an actual funded program.
Okay.
So it's separate. So we have to keep, so that's the tricky part, because not only do we have to afford that, you know, not only do we have to offer this to our, or should offer it to our special education students, but it's also a California initiative that we offer an inclusive program so that special education students get to be included with our general education students for development. So, you know, it is absolutely an important program. Any questions with this basic overview of the money financials? No. Okay. So moving on, you know, we're looking at a 20% increase in fees.
I like this slide.
It's a little easier. Yeah, and the numbers, right?
Right.
Yeah. So looking at a 20% increase here would be across the board. So we're looking at an increase to our registration fee. You can see that in the second column there, the registration fee. You could see that we'd be charging a half-day fee that's higher, again, with the 20% increase, and then our full day. we probably make somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 40, $50,000 with the extended care. So we didn't add that in here. We know that's usually a gain. We needed to make money on the basic program, knowing that there could be up to a $50 swing with students that choose to participate in some extended care. But the one-time registration fee, we're recommending that we do a minimum of 51 students to be enrolled in this program. And we'll tell you how that's going to break down here in a second. So I'm looking at that second column, $114, that's an increase. You see that setup is about 6,000. Moving to that second column there, or the third column, essentially, the half-day fees gone up to 660. We're only recommending to offer 7 students access to half-day for now. That we would open 3 classrooms, 2 of the classrooms, and I'll show this in a later slide, but just to do the numbers, that of the 3 classrooms, 2 classrooms would be a full day. That's where we're going to get the most bang for our buck. We're going to be able to be solvent with that full day program. And then that we open the 3rd classroom to half of those students could participate in the half-day program. So there will be a wait list for the half-day program. We believe we can pretty much fill the need in the full day program. And again, that's something that will allow us to stay solvent. So looking here with those half-day students, you're making 55,000, just over that, almost 55.5. Going over to that last column at 1062. Which is still pretty much in the ballpark when we started, looking around, that you would have 44 students enrolled in the full day for 560. And of course, the bottom line looks a lot better. Our expenditures are right around 496. Obviously, that'll fluctuate a bit, but we're bringing in $622,000. So we're seeing over $100,000 annual surplus to be able to negotiate. And I just want to say that there's a little bit of grace to that number, that bottom line, because there's a lot of uncertainty. Students could leave and we can't fill a position, we can't fill that spot. So that's something we just have no control over. So wanting to keep a number like this in the $100,000 range to give us that opportunity to be a little bit more flexible and be able to adapt to the uncertainty of a program.
Do you have any slides on comparative fees?
I didn't, because the goal here is we have to break even. So, at the end of the day, I didn't put a slide together with comparisons.
My question is, obviously this looks better to comment, but also we don't live in a vacuum. There is competition.
Yes.
Are we competitive with these fees?
So we did look, we're under private schools. So we're definitely under like the Montessori's and the Beach Babies and those. School districts were on the higher side of school districts, but not significantly. $30 a month, $20 a month. And there's indication that some of these programs are going to start raising as well. You're going to just start seeing these programs are just so expensive to run now across the board, and some are going to third parties. We see like Torrance uses a third party. Some of the local districts run their own, but they're just expensive. So we're going to start seeing, I think, rate increases here across the board as well at other school districts.
Like, how many half-day students, or how many students enrolled in the half-day program do we have now? I know this forecast is for 7 for the.
Thank you for that. Yes, there it is. 23.
So what, I think you said the 7 on the next slide was the target. That's what you would max it out. What's the, not that it's good or bad, we just don't have an understanding of what's the logic of that.
Because because when you staff a full, do you want to talk to Anisha? You probably, it's staffing, an 8-hour day versus a 4-hour day.
So our master educators, who are the primary teachers in the classroom, are 8-hour employees. And so if we have a majority of our students leaving at the half-day program, we still have our master educators that need to provide services to students. And so we want to prioritize the full day students, knowing that they will be there the entire day. It's a higher rate. And then we are in ratio for all of our licensing as well, with master educators and instructional aides in the classroom.
Is there such a thing as the other half day after they leave? Like a morning and afternoon?
So we tried a PM program, and this year, actually, that was one of the decisions that I worked with Peggy and Karen on, is we actually took out the PM program because we only had a handful of students interested in a PM only program. So we were kind of losing on both ends, in the AM and the PM, because we didn't have enough students to fill. There is actually enough students that want full day. The 44 Just looking at School Mint for next year, we actually have 44 parents that are interested in a full day program for their preschool students that have already filled out the School Mint enrollment form.
And so just to point out too, I think we have some flexibility actually, because what we're gonna see in that third classroom with the half, you know, you'll have those 7 students in the morning that are half day. They're mixed with kids that are there full day. Because it's like a split classroom. So if there are students that want to do that second half of the day, potentially, or I guess we're not even registering for that, but we'll have to see. We can sort of play around with that extra time as well.
This is the
And our-
baseline. Theoretically, it gets better.
Yeah, and our staffing, the master educators are 8 hours, but our instructional aides are either 4-hour or 6-hour employees. So there's a gap at around 2:30. Instructional aides leave and the master educators do provide the correct ratio of licensing when you have to have the 8-to-1 student ratio.
So I have a question. Excuse me, the 51 full-time. Those would have to be 51 full-time who are paying tuition,
51 total.
This is all for, yes.
because there's also the special needs students, right, that do not pay the tuition.
So we're accounting for up to 18 special education students. We have the capacity at 69 students with 3 classrooms. So we are saving spots for special education students to buffer those numbers. So about 6 students in each of the 3 classrooms would be special education.
And so, and the age group is also important for the enrolled students, right? So the age is 3. Yeah,
So where we have to be careful, kind of going along with Joanne's mentioning, I'm glad you have the 18 slots saved for special ed. Is if we have more parents that have interest in the program, we do not probably open a 4th classroom until we can make sure we can fill that classroom, right?
We have a slide for that.
Oh,
Yeah.
We'll tell you what our magic number is to open classroom 4.
and then like, just to go back, I think yeah, in your presentation, what you mentioned is when we went into this program, the intent was not to, I mean, we want to break even. We don't want to lose money, obviously. We were impacted by, it was double whammy, the pandemic and then the law with the TK4, right? Okay.
So the staffing was huge and lack of, we were across the board, we were just having struggles staffing. So that was one big issue. And then you obviously had the TK legislation that, took our most, the group that was the most involved, that was most enrolled in our program.
So we making sure there's no 3-year-old programs coming.
Yeah. I think at that point, I think our recommendation would be to shut down the program.
One more.
What the reimbursement from special ed is, just get all the numbers.
I can email you with it. Oh, I can email it. I did ask for it, but it gets in the presentation would get confusing just because it's 2 separate. I can certainly get you
And Dr. Silvers is pinch hitting here, so we gotta give him a break.
that. Yeah. All right. So moving on, just wanted to give another bit of a breakdown of our projected expenditures, just so we
can we go back for a second? So even if we don't get that magic number of enrollees of 51, we still need to provide this education for special ed 3-year-olds. Thank you.
And we want to do an inclusive environment.
Looking at the left side of the screen here, the direct expenses, we have, worked through this total here. A minimum cost per classroom annually is 165,000, almost 700. And then monthly, that's about 13,800. So those are the numbers we're trying to target in our process. So looking to the right at the revenue, we with 16 students at full day, 1,062. Our monthly is right there at almost $17,000. So we're able to make that work. The monthly surplus is 3,200, and our annual surplus per classroom is 38,000. So again, you multiply that by 3, you get your number, multiply that by 4, essentially it's even higher. So definitely looking to stay within this model. This is the model that we want to stay within. So as Nisha was sharing, we wouldn't open classroom number 4 unless we reach that number 16 of full-time. So we may have 12 on a wait list, and, you know, in the past, we'd want to, want to offer it as many as possible. It unfortunately doesn't make sense for us right now to do that. So we'd wait for that sweet number 16 to open another classroom.
What is our total classroom capacity?
23?
No, I mean, how many classrooms can we?
So 69, we have, or sorry, 91. We have 3 classes at 23 and 1 class at 22 capacity. So total for the 4 brick and mortar classrooms is 91. And then we do have the modular, which
Services is more. used
yeah,
for
we're
students
using it for
services.
OT services and assessments and such, but should we get to another 16, then there is a possibility of opening up in the
The
modular.
classroom sizes are in compliance?
And I mean, down the road, and I didn't want to belabor this, but down the road, in a year or two, I believe it's 2 years, we could actually give up the lease and maybe convert one of the parts of the classroom or another office at the Del Air site to help support some of the services and office space. So there's ways, if we're starting to see that we need to lighten the load a little bit or lighten our monthly cost, we have some options in the next couple of years. So again, I shared this, initial development of the program was really to provide, it was pre-pandemic in 2019-20. We planned for these nice facilities, aimed to run a break-even program or better. And again, lining with the state initiatives of inclusion. And then we ran into these unforeseen challenges. So that was just these were our challenges. And so for the need for the rate increase is to maintain our facilities. We know that costs have gone up across the board. Again, hiring quality staff is always has been a challenge. We're looking forward to being able to do that in a more efficient way this year, purchasing materials and equipment. And then, as we shared with the board the last time, wanting this program to run break even, if not better, so that we're running a fiscally sound program for the future, not just year to year, but that we're building, hopefully enough of a reserve on a yearly basis that we can withstand a little. And then maintaining this quality program, planning for uncertainty. So our recommendations and next steps is 1, to enroll the priority number 1 full day students. We shared that 20% increase. That's number 2 there. The parameters would be that, again, we prioritize full day, and that the part day would be a second priority if we can make it work. Again, part of those parameters is not to open that 4th room. Right now, we believe we're good for the 3, but not opening that 4th room until we have those 16 paid full day registrants. And so that would be part of number 3. And then, so our recommendation right now is that we offer 44 students in the full day program, 7.5 day program, and we open the 3 classrooms. All right, and just for future transparency and accountability, we're going to manage the budget, ensure that the funds from the tuition rate increase are used effectively. We want to make sure that they're used for the right way for a quality preschool program, and that we're going to communicate the rate change to families following this board meeting. We have messages already prepared that we'll send out. And then I want to make sure that when we come back for interim reporting, so when we have first interim, second interim report, that we actually will have, because this is an enterprise account, it runs itself, that we'll do a special presentation at each of those interim reports to the board, so that you have that more iterative update throughout the year.
I have a question. Where are the 4-year-olds? Where are those classrooms? Are the 4-year-olds that are in the pre-K?
In TK,
In TK, right?
so
Right.
there's 1 classroom at Anza
Uh-huh.
and 2 at Cabrillo.
Okay. So they're actually at the school sites.
Correct.
Got it.
With
Okay.
our certificated teachers.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll probably come to the board because we may need another one at one point. And so we have some suggestions there as well, but that's for another time.
Do those follow the same class size reduction guidelines as our K through 2?
There's a difference.
They have their own guidelines with a 12-to-1 ratio. So
Okay.
it's even smaller. So it's 1 certificated teacher, and then the next person can be an instructional aide, but that instructional aide has additional qualifications that they need to have ECE units as well.
And is that, sorry, is that program fully funded
Yes, that's funded by the state.
by the
That's-
state, right? Okay. And it's paid by what the enrollment actually is.
Left ADA on those students. It's like a kindergarten through.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Questions?
Very good shooting.
All right.
Thank you for the presentation, Blake, and I think, and in particular, thank you for the background that with regards to all the changes, which kind of forced the program to go into a deficit.
Yeah.
Thing to keep for us and for our district is when things like that happen is to continue to reevaluate as we move forward.
Yeah.
And adjust as we need to. And I think that's what this presentation here does. So thank you for that presentation. I know it's unfortunate that we have to raise the fees for families. But I think that, like we said, the intent is to have a break-even program. It's a parent-paid program. So I think this will bring it back to a healthy state moving forward.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. Thanks, Roger.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Good, then we go to board member reports, and Joanne, we'll start with you.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good evening to the community here, the community out there that we can't see. I didn't want to interrupt the conversation when Vicente was here earlier, but I just wanted to say that my son Joe, when he was at Dana Middle School, had the opportunity to represent Weisburn in Houston as one of the few middle schools that participated right alongside of the high school programs in the United States. And I went to Houston with Joey. The cool thing about that particular competition was that it was underwater. And that competition was in the NASA dive pool, which is where the NASA astronauts simulate weightlessness on Earth, which you can't do otherwise. So they practice in the water in the dive pool, which is 40 feet deep. So the robotics team had to not only create robotics equipment, but it had to operate in the 40-foot pool. So that was quite an experience, and as a parent, it was really a lot of fun. And our team, the Dana team, as I say, competed right alongside of high school teams, and we came in 5th in the nation, even as a middle school team. So it's pretty exciting. I think that was sort of some of the precursor to some of the good work that's being done now in the robotics program. And we had a chance to start it when Joey was still at Dana. So there was no Da Vinci back then. It was a gleam in someone's eye, as they say. So anyway, it was pretty exciting to do then. And I'm going to mention that to Vicente next time I see him, just because there's a lot of history in Weisburn to support robotics and to not just support robotics, but to excel in robotics. And I'm really proud to have been part of some of that initial competition experience. I don't even remember what year that was. So Joey graduated from high school in 2009. So it was probably 2005, maybe. Wow. Anyway, I don't know. So there's that. And I want to, thank the community for keeping going with that and for providing the experience to students as the years have gone on. And I think that's what I want to say. And I want to wish our finance team well. I know Jason's not with us this evening. Wish him well. And thanks again for that team sort of carrying on, and for Blake once again taking on the responsibilities of the finance team. I want to say I'm looking forward to continuing with Amir and hearing the follow on to the technology planning that I know we're doing. I texted Blake this week and said what's going on, because I know we're up against the wall with deadlines if we're trying to order equipment and install equipment this summer while school's not in session. And I know that Blake reminded me that the Chromebooks that we have on this agenda are part of that plan as well. So I'm glad for that. So I'm looking forward to whatever. I'm sure the timing is coming close, and as I understand it, you're waiting for bids and so on for the various elements of the technology plan that we went over a few weeks ago. So good to know about that. And I think that my colleagues here will talk more about the Da Vinci, Weisburn cooperation going forward, and I'll defer to them for that. So thank you.
Neil?
Well, thank you. Good to be here. Nice to see everybody as well. I had the privilege of walking our community for the LAX Aviation Station Metro Active Transport Grant. That's actually through LA City last Saturday weekend, which is kind of interesting. Dr. Silver, it might be interesting to explore if we can actually apply for that on the Del Air side. I think we're the only governmental-ish agency that might be able to apply because that represents about $3.5 million. It's the last half mile around the metro station. What's happened, metro station is it's the G line. It's changing its name. I'm not sure what the new name will be, but the K line is coming in. I think it's going to be the C line. I think the metro line is becoming the C line actually, and the K line is coming in. The K line is the line that's going to take you to the people mover to LAX. So the green line will no longer be the LAX connection, which means likely all the buses that are there will be gone. There's not going to be half the parking will not be needed. So there's conversations about what to do with that space, as well as a half mile around it. LA County applied for, LA City applied for the grant. So we walked and got some input on the Del Air section because Del Air is part of that, but they won't be making any investment in Del Air. We may have an opportunity for another grant to do that potentially. So it's something to look into. We may have that chance. I also want to congratulate Jessica Doherty and Andrew Dvosh Banks and the rest of the Del Air Neighborhood Association team. They were elected. They have a new board there. And so congratulations to those folks. As Rebecca was unable to attend the WEF meeting, I attended in her stead, and just such an inspiring group. If you have been involved in PLTW, excuse me, or CrossFit, or you've enjoyed the musical instruments, these are contributions that WEF makes. If you are interested in contributing to WEF, not only as a financial donor, but as a volunteer, they're always looking for people to get involved. Their planning right now is about primarily Rock Around the Block, which is scheduled for April 29th. So please plan on that. They're working hard for that. As far as I heard, one of the more exciting things for me this year is that there's In-N-Out Burger Truck will be there. So we got that priority. They also will have their own nominating committee for their next slate of leaders in May. And so lots of ways to get involved. They also do, Dr. Johnstone, our former superintendent, has a scholarship that he gives to students every year that WEF vets. And some of the applicants are truly impressive from high school. These are high school graduates in the Da Vinci school. Very exciting as well for them. Joanne, looking forward to working with you on the budget committee that we will be participating in before our next board meeting. So looking forward to those numbers. For the board's edification, I was to meet Dr. Wonder this morning for breakfast, just to kind of continue that connection. Unfortunately, I wasn't feeling great, so I had to bow out, but we will certainly reschedule that. Looking forward, as Joanne mentioned, to the 2+1 meetings that I've been talking about since January after a conversation with Dr. Brand, which I appreciated. And again, I know our president and our vice president will be leading our contingency on those conversations with Da Vinci. Very much looking forward to that. I know there's agreed to that starting, that's going to be moving forward, and appreciate the Da Vinci team joining in on that. So good folks on that side as well. Looking forward to have those conversations. That's it for me. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Nelson. Just a couple of comments. Just looking forward to our meetings with Da Vinci. Our next meeting is next week on Tuesday at 2 o'clock, I believe, here in the boardroom. So looking forward to restarting our conversations with their representatives, and that's Joe Weber and Ray Santiago, joined by Nelson and myself. And then Dr. Silvers and Dr. Wonder and maybe some staff. We don't know yet, but really looking forward to that conversation getting restarted next week on Tuesday. And then my final thoughts here are just thank you to our staff and Dr. Silvers for the presentations on Title I and the preschool. I know we've been talking about those items for quite some time, and it's great to see all the effort that's gone into the presentation. So thank you, Dr. Harbeck, as well, for all your presentations and information. Lots to consider, lots to think about.
Number of dances you can do. What about that's a variable.
Oh, I get it.
Wow.
So the money you get back to the house is.
We have that much commitment to math here, guys.
Variables.
They muted.
Well, looking forward to it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Roger. I only have a few quick items, as Joanne mentioned. And I appreciate all your help on the technology committee, and Roger and I have been involved in the facilities committee. There's a lot of plans, moving forward, here at Wiseburn and you can see it on the board agenda tonight with facility items and also technology items. So, we're trying to move into the 21st century, right? And so, a lot of work to take place. In terms of the robotics program, and Joanne, you kind of hit upon this. That is a successful program. When Neil, you talk about this articulation that takes place with Project Lead the Way in robotics, we're seeing that success because that articulation is taking place. And obviously we want to see that articulation take more and with different subject matters besides Project Lead the Way and STEM. It sounds like we received an invitation today, and it sounds like Roger and Joanne have been to Houston, but you and I have not been to Houston, right? Something to think about. And I don't know. And then also looking forward to Rock Around the Block, which is a great event that supports our music and arts. Scheduled for April 29th. I know you're looking forward to In and Out. I'm looking forward to dunking Blake in the dunking. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Every year. So, I don't know.
So that's,
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
I know.
That's all I have though, but I want to just thank the staff and everything. There's a lot of things going on, and with the master plan and a lot of things that we're looking to do here in facilities and technology, there's gonna be a lot of work taking place here in the next few months and years to come. So that's all I have. And I think now we're going to district reports, Blake.
So Eileen has already spoken, so we're gonna just pass. You have something else? You do have something else. Oh my goodness. All right. And then Nisha, you have, you don't mind.
Good evening. I wanted to give you an update on some committee work that's going on in our district with our teachers and our families. And we have started a new mathematics committee here in the district. We're actually having our third meeting on Monday, made up of educators from all sites and all grade levels. And I just really want to thank them for standing up and adding their expertise to the conversation. We actually have brought in a math specialist, Miss Holly Compton, who is a math specialist in a nearby district who's come in to facilitate these meetings. And the whole premise is to lay the groundwork for a successful mathematics adoption next year. In order to do that, the team is working at these meetings. We have a total of 6 meetings to draw up a mathematical a vision for mathematics in our district, for instruction of mathematics. And this has taken quite a while. It's taken over 2 meetings to do, and we're hoping to wrap it up on Monday and move on. The next step would have to do with looking at our standards. And this work was started right before the pandemic, actually in March, before we shut down schools. We had a professional development day where we unpacked the standards and chose what we call focus standards for each grade level. So the idea is to bring back that work and to align it across our district for each grade level. That's a little bit of an undertaking. Once we have those framed and the vision, then we can proceed with a thoughtful and transparent adoption process. So we're looking forward to that. All principals are also involved in the committee. We also had our first LCAP committee work go on this past week. Was it last week? Losing track. But we have, this follows up LCAP survey, meetings with our PTAs, a student focus group at Dana, where we collect all of our energy from everyone and all their thoughts about the LCAP. And so many different ideas, you know, and this meeting had 17 people there. We had parents, we had administrators, we had teachers. I know Ms. Tori, who's in the audience tonight, was there as well. And board member Rebecca Hamburg-Cappy was also present. So we're just really thankful for them all participating in that. This is our second year of a 3-year plan. So every year we come back, we look at it, we revise it, we see if we're really addressing all the needs of our students, especially those who are identified as low income or English learners or foster youth. So we want to make sure our plan is still relevant and active, and if we may need to make any changes. So we'll be having a second meeting and a final meeting, we hope, in May. And then we come to the school board with what we think is a good revision. It goes, of course, through vetting with LACO, our Los Angeles County Office of Education, several times, along with our budget overview for parents, which Dr. Hasty will complete. So we'll come back to you with that. Looking forward to that. But just a big thank you to all those who were able to make that meeting. It's very helpful.
Just before you go, when you mentioned Lego, I just wanted to put this on both of your radars. Is I'm sure you're familiar with Chat GPT and other AI tools, which are magnificent in their capabilities and also frightening from a plagiarism and, or that's not the right term, creative writing perspective. This could be something, I would love us to have a strategy as a district, and I'm having this conversation at Lego and nationally about how you avoid computer-generated essays in middle school in particular. I don't know how we address that. I don't know what action that requires at this time, but we should be proactive there and give our teachers the tools to be understanding our students are actually learning and not using a computer to do the work. Thank you.
All right, hopefully this will be my last COVID update, but we'll see. I know.
You know what happened when someone said that?
So on March 13th, LADPH fully aligned with the California Department of Public Health. And no longer do we have health orders regarding COVID. They are now guidance. So if someone tests positive for COVID, they should isolate, they should wear a mask, and they should test before returning to school or to work. But those are all shoulds.
Not shall.
Not shall, not required, not mandated, they should. So we do encourage parents, staff, if you do have symptoms, if you do test positive, to please help us to mitigate the spread and transmission of COVID or any other sort of upper respiratory illnesses. But like I said, the health orders, there are no longer health orders, it's guidance. Also today on the agenda, item number 10.2, we will be honoring these retirees at our May meeting, but I do want to give a special recognition to Ms. Flanders and Ms. Conduction, both teachers at 138th and Anza respectively, and we want to wish them the best as they retire. We will have kind of a formal proper ceremony at the May meeting, but do want to let you know that this is in agenda item 10.12, actually, not 2. Yeah, 10.12.
Okay.
So that's it from HR. Any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Dugal.
You know, I was thinking, because I was gonna talk about technology, I was gonna probably mess it up though, so I'm gonna, Amir, do you mind, just a quick share, just on, you know, Joanne was just asking about the, you know, just the state of the bid. I mean, it's just off the top of your head, I'm sure, right? Sure. Yeah. He was ready for this.
Okay. Good afternoon. Well, actually, we sent the bid out as part of the process to 8 vendors, and we're waiting for proposal from them. And the deadline is 31st, Friday next week. And we're hoping to summarize everything and call for another technology meeting and overview the numbers and get it by the next board for approval and select the vendor and move on. What we did during the process, we actually give them a list of the material we need. When we left them a kind of room for any other proposal that they think is more suitable for our district as well. But there's one mandated based on our requirement, based off analysis, which you already shared with our previous committee meeting.
When you requested bids, did you specify the type of equipment they're bidding? Or did you give them requirements and then they defined what equipment they felt would meet those requirements?
Or we actually give them an exact part number we
Okay.
require. Yes, there's no room for question and we'll leave them any questions they have to ask. Nobody had any question. Looks like it was very clear what exactly we needed.
Oh, good job. Yeah,
Of course, thank you.
okay.
So that was the baseline that they had to respond to, and then there's room if they wanted to propose like something different, they can do that opposite that baseline.
I know there was also a facilities requirement that we were discussing for the actual equipment rooms, where this equipment is housed. And in order to make sure that it's fire rated and that the doors are fire rated and so on, is that also in work as you're preparing here?
Good afternoon, good evening. So majority of the doors are fire rated throughout the sites. I would have to go back and actually verify that. I believe it's the main, ANZA main room. I'll go have to verify. Usually there's a tag in the door or somewhere in the scene that indicates whether or not it is fire rated. But majority of doors around the sites are indeed fire rated.
I think
Go ahead, go ahead.
clarify on that. I think the question too is the broader room itself
Right.
and looking at some of that. And I was actually, it's on the agenda. We're gonna be meeting with, well, hopefully we'll be meeting with Noemi and NAZ team. That'll be one of the things we're gonna look to first, to look at that facility and make sure that those rooms are we either have to retrofit them or that they're already in good order.
Mhm.
But we'll be doing that for like real. very short
Okay,
order.
good, thank you.
One quick question, Amir, with regards to technology, how would you define this? And what I mean by this, is this a significant upgrade to our technology infrastructure backbone, or is this really an overhaul of our entire technology infrastructure backbone?
Great question. It will be a combination of both, but mainly my main goal was to not overhaul. Since there's a chance to actually add more layer of security and go by the zero trust. We mainly, actually, I can say it like a restructure everything.
Okay.
While we overhauling. I can say if you want to go by percentage, I can say 20%, 30% overhaul and 70% emphasis on how we build it. There is no room for actually somebody sneak in, or less room for revamp or replace everything within like a 5 years time. My goal was like a 10 years. We put a lot of significant rebuild, basically. Yes.
Okay.
A major capacity increase, as well as a completely replacement of the network equipment.
Absolutely.
And the important thing too about this is that it is time phased over about a 3-year period. So that the goal is to deal with the most important security items first.
Absolutely.
And then as the time goes by to work on the items that are still important in the sense of capacity, but less relevant to the security aspects. So the security aspects actually have priority in the time phasing as Amir's putting the plan together.
Absolutely. We're going to guard our environment first before putting any equipment in. Not only like physically nobody have access to equipments, plus the data moving to the district. Because we should be careful when we build something, it's not going to be damaged during the build.
Right.
We're going to secure first, like guard it, basically, if you will.
Part of it is we're talking not just about hardware and software, but people have to use the hardware and software. So there has to also be training and work with our staff and our teachers to make sure that the equipment as it's installed is understood and useful, and that we can't just improve the infrastructure. People have to know how to use the infrastructure. So that's part of what we're including too.
Thank you both. I know there's a lot of good work taking place at the technology community, so thank you. And it's really important work and much needed.
Amir's just done a really good job with the definition of the goals and how to implement the goals, and then how to time phase those implementations as well. So really appreciate it. Really good job.
Thank you. Just want to take the opportunity and thank for leadership as well. Without their support and encouragement, I wouldn't be here. It's a teamwork and really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that was my technology update. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. Also want to say, I want to thank the principals. We're in tour season, like really full in tour season right now. And what that does, there's a lot of families this year that are very, very excited to learn about the school district. I know Eileen's worked really hard on this, so thank you to her and to Alicia Galindo for running these tours. But it's a show, it's a really good opportunity for the schools to show off, and they really do a fantastic job. It's been so positive, so I just wanted to share with the board that these tours have been very positive, very, very well attended. We're just seeing community members, people that just want to come in and see the school that they may be going to. Some live in the community, some don't, but just being able to come and see the school. So thank you to all of the folks that are putting that together. Also want to say I had an opportunity to meet with King Consulting today. There's lots of opportunities for us coming up, for modernization, matching fund or modernization funds and grants that we can apply for through the state. So as we left today, at the next meeting on the 20th, they're going to be updating the dashboard so we can bring that back to the board. I know that's been something, Neil, that you particularly have asked me for, and we haven't brought it back in the form that I think we should, and so we will. The next meeting, be able to bring that back, but did have a really good meeting with them, as well as a potential opportunity we may have for some energy savings, some solar work that we can at least put the footprint out or the foundation out, and some design out there so that we could bring back to the board at a later date, maybe a plan for that. If it pencils out, we'll have to see, but it gets us going. Also want to talk, Roger, I felt it really appropriate, that you recognize Vicente for the work that he did on the region, but I want to extend that too and say, I had in our personal lives, they put on a big gymnastics competition. For those of you that don't know, I'm a gymnastics fan. My kids are in gymnastics. So a local gym was putting on a big tournament or a big meet here, and it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I'll tell you, Vicente is here all the time, and there's and the Da Vinci staff, Miguel, who does a lot of the maintenance and custodial work there. Their attention to the people is pretty impressive. They put on such a wonderful event, and just their engagement and interaction. It's great. It's great for Da Vinci. It's great for Weisburn that they have such welcoming people that are just working so hard and doing that. So I want to extend, a thank you to Vicente too, because it's not just, the robotics, all of these events that he's there, and Vicente, he's there on his scooter, literally, running back and forth. So wanted to offer that as well. I also want to share, Jennifer Flanders is on this, and I know that we do, we are going to get to a point where we recognize her in a different way, and then probably a better way, but I did want to share, just of the years, Chris is here, the years that we've negotiated, WFA, and Jennifer has always been, she was a lead negotiator for so many years, that just the level of professionalism that she brought to the table, and that she brought to the negotiations, and just to problem solving in general, is just remarkable. So I just want to thank her on behalf of myself and the team, for the work that she's done, and congratulate her on reaching this point. Lastly, I want to just thank the team themselves. Thank you, Eileen, for putting together a Title I presentation. Very well done, and Nisha for helping me on the preschool presentation. It's awesome. Just being able to work through that. Amir, thank you for pinch hitting here and jumping in on a technology update. And Jonathan is real quietly behind the scenes, making sure that our facilities are kept up and done. For those of you that may notice or may have not noticed, you haven't been potentially, but Dana, we're doing the work on the planners at Dana, so they're starting to build up. We're starting to see that. This weather's really been brutal, but so we're hoping to get that there. But also got a message from Weisburn Little League talking about the condition of the field and how nice that was. And I know Jonathan and his team have really made it a point to create that so it's a safe spot. So great work. I would absolutely be remiss if I didn't thank Wendy for absolutely everything. Just keeping things together and really, just great. So thank you all for the support. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Blake, and thank you to the entire team as well for all your work. Now we'll go to the public. Do we have any public comments on the agenda items?
now, I don't have any online.
Seeing no comments, we'll go ahead and move forward to consent items. Do I have a motion?
You have a motion with a question on 10.8.
Okay,
Is that a motion, Neil, for 10.1 through 10.13?
Thank you. 10.13, is that the last one?
Yes.
okay,
And
that's
I'll
Neil.
second.
Thank you, Roger. Neil, question on.
Yeah, it's
10.8?
just a question. This is the air tutors. And glad we have this service. My question was, how do we know that they are doing a good job? What quality control do we have there? Thank you. Yeah, thank you. That's not an expectation. They're not doing a great job, just, accountability.
Air tutors is going to be used specifically at Dana through Title I funds. And it came on to our attention during the pandemic when it was used widely in the South Bay by schools to support students during online learning. So it will be used primarily during the Right at School program when students are on campus, but in under our care. It's also being facilitated by the Dana math teachers, and they have a dashboard where there is accountability involved. So Principal Clark is behind this with her math teachers and has been in regular contact. And I just want to say that they work K through 12, these tutors, and each one is fingerprinted and background checked. They are bilingual if needed. And the accountability goes straight through the principal in her working in their dealings. We feel satisfied from the recommendations that we've had from the South Bay districts that this is a good team to work with.
Well, knowing they're on site and we have eyes on them, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor for consent items 10.1 through 10.13?
Aye.
Aye.
We will now move to general items. Could we take 11.1 and 11.2 together as well? Do I have a motion for both? They're both related.
I'll motion both, and I also have a comment.
Thank you.
I'll second both, 11.1 and 11.2.
My comment is, and I don't know how much to go into it, but it is somewhat of a shocking item to have on our agenda, 2 items actually, to be motioning and likely approving an agreement with a new law firm for the district. Significant events have happened which have made it necessary for us to move from the law firm with which we did business for many years to a different firm. And I know Blake did some good research to recommend to us this firm and to also negotiate the rates, the hourly rates with this firm as well. So we're looking forward to working with a new firm and proceeding with those requirements for the district. So I want to thank Blake for making it easy on us as a board to move forward in this changing environment with the legal support for the district.
All in favor for items 11.1 through 11.2?
Aye.
Next item is the facility action items, and I think here we may want to take these one by one, I guess. Or maybe we can lump
Yeah, maybe.
12.1 through 12.5 or something, I don't know. Blake?
I'd say we should probably take these one by one.
Okay, let's do one by one. Let's start with item 12.1. This is Assembly Bill 247. Essentially, the 2024 state bond that it will be put forward, be put forward by the state of California in November of 2024. This allows the district an opportunity to, and we're in a good position because we passed our local bond to receive some state matching funds. So basically, this is the resolution supporting that. So do I have a motion?
If I may too, Nelson,
Oh, yeah,
one of
go
the
ahead.
things
Go ahead.
that will really help benefit is that we do have eligibility now for modernization and new construction that, and we're gonna do all of that, right? So we're likely gonna do that. So this bond being passed will really help extend our.
This brings more money to the district, right? It costs none of our taxpayers anything.
Yeah,
Is
right.
Do we know the dollar value of the bond that may be floated?
We do not know an exact number, but that number's been in the.
This is statewide.
Yeah, in the statewide, historically, it's been somewhere in the 10 to 13 billion dollars. Typically.
Yeah, and I should clarify, of course, with all state taxpayers, but not specifically. Washington. That's what I was referring to. Thank you.
Do I have a
We have a
motion?
motion to approve 10.1.
Thank you, Roger. Do I have a second? Was that you, Neil?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Neil. All in favor?
Aye.
Right. 12.2, this is the basketball court backboards at Anza Elementary School. Do I have a motion?
A motion.
Go ahead.
I'll second with a question, do these come with any kind of time horizon guarantee? Jonathan?
So they do come with the standard warranty. It does not I'd have to read into the warranty to see what's covered as far as discoloration. But I know that it's lifetime break warranty. So if it does shatter or break or crack, we can go ahead and replace it. But there is a certain amount of time that the discoloration, will eventually happen, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. So that it wouldn't cover a discoloration or a hue of that flexi or polycarbonate.
Thank you. The ones that ate look great, so.
Thank you. Yeah,
Glad to
very,
see
very
this
cool.
happening.
Of course.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item, 12.3, this is approving the slurry seal and restriping being at Anza Elementary School. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll second. Do we want to do 12.3 and 12.4 together? Because they look like they're pretty
Yes.
compatible here.
Yep, absolutely.
Motion to 12.4 to include 12.
Fantastic.
Take my second to 12.3 and 12.4.
All in favor of 12.3 and 12.4?
Aye.
12.5, see you in the background in case you need them. 12.5, Cupca. Do we have a motion? Blake, you might want to.
I'll make a motion so we can have a discussion.
I'll second it with, needing clarity on this one. And
Yes, okay.
I was just hoping if you mind coming up. I mean, I just want, I know at the last board meeting, we did have a Cupco resolution on there. We had a conversation. We pulled that item. So there's some changes. So I don't know if can you just sort of highlight what those changes are?
The biggest change was we decided to add the maintenance work as part of it. I think initially it presented to the board, it was unclear. So we wanted to clarify in the resolution that it covers all maintenance work also.
And Hugh,
So
could you
that's why it
clarify
was pulled last.
could you clarify the limits? There are thresholds.
It's up to 60,000. You can do a direct contract. Up from 60 to 200,000, it's an informal. You keep a list of contractors for specific scopes of work. You make sure that they are on that list and they get the invitation. You can also spread it out to the trade journals. And then over 200,000 is the formal bid. And that is that you have to advertise in a newspaper and then also specific trade journals under the Cupca manual. So those are lists, 60, 200 and over 200.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Don't go too far.
Okay, next item. 12.6, approving the contract for program management services, NAS Building Program Advisors, Measure EE Bond Fund.
So moved.
Neil motion,
I'll second.
second from Roger,
I have a comment.
and comments from Joanne.
I want to thank Roger and Nelson and Blake in particular for the research and the diligence put to this recommendation. I know last board meeting, I had a lot of questions and obviously a lot of advice, thinking I knew what I was talking about. And I appreciate that a lot of that was taken to heart and that the work was done, the due diligence in the background that always pays off when things are being actually implemented. And I appreciate that. So thank you. I feel confident in this recommendation.
I also say thank you to Jason for diligently on this as well, so please pass that on to Jason. And like, I think you maybe have comments.
I did. I wanted to, I did want to say, it was a pleasure, meeting, the team from NAZ, Noemi and Cherie. I think what stuck out to us as a team, and again, thank you to Jason for probably going through 6 versions of negotiations of some sort. So, yeah. But I think that, really was, your attention to detail, the attention to detail, it's just going to serve us very well as we're trying to maximize the dollars that we do have, find dollars that we don't yet have, but hope to get, and just making sure that we prioritize projects in a way that, is the most efficient and effective for what we're trying to do here at the district. So, I think that as a team, we all felt that, just your level of detail and attention to detail and, just your willingness to be part of our community throughout this process. I know you were at board meetings in the past, you've been at, town hall meetings that we've had for facilities, was really kind of a domino, if you will, as to, the selection. So without further ado, I would say I'm pleased to be able to work with NAZ building partners, building advisors. Noemi and Cherie are the face of that team. So thank you.
Thank you for coming.
All right, so I got a motion from Neil, a second from Roger. All in favor?
Hi.
Right,
Congratulations.
congratulations and welcome aboard, Noemi and Cherie. We look forward to working with you. Did you have anything to say, Noemi?
Really, the only thing that I wanted to say was thank you very much. We're truly humbled and grateful by the selection. Our team that we've expressed to Jason and Dr. Silvers, we're ready to hit the ground running. We're very much excited to work as the partners.
Fantastic. Thank you. We look forward to working with you. Thank you again.
Do you have any updates for us?
And you, thank you too. for your
Yes.
assistance.
For sure. Thank you, Hugh. Very patient.
Right, next item. And it's 12.7. I'm glad we have you here. This is to approve leaseback construction delivery method. And along with that is a myriad of documents that come with the leaseback. So do I have a motion and a second? And I'm sure there's going to be a discussion here as well.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you, Roger.
I'll second.
Neil, and little discussion here in terms of what the difference has been from the last time to now.
Sure. So last time we brought forth the lease back specifically for the project behind us here at where are we? 201. The soccer field here for Wyatt High School. It was for the soccer field specifically, and I think at the last meeting, there was a question whether we should pull that and add that, and then we, I know Hugh had brought, the recommendation to just bring this separate resolution. So this is general in nature, Hugh.
Correct. So it will allow you to do any project using leaseback. It delegates authority to Dr. Silvers to determine which projects would use leaseback. And then it has the base documents that were essentially very similar to the ones we used for the soccer project. And so it just gives you more flexibility moving forward so that you don't have to come every time that you want to do leaseback and go through this process again.
Yeah, that is perfect. Thank you, Hugh, for the explanation. Thank you for your assistance again in this matter. These have been complicated facility matters, and you've been able to explain them in a way that understandable to everybody, including the public and the community members that are listening. So thank you, really appreciate it.
No, I think the board's input, Dr. Sullivan, especially Dr. Hasty input was invaluable. So especially with the new team, hopefully you won't see me very much.
Thank you. All right, so ready for the question? All in favor?
Hi.
Thank you.
Took a while. Great.
Yeah.
I understand it. I think.
Good.
Tonight.
All right. Next items are fiscal action items. Do I have a motion? And do we want to take these?
I think we definitely want to do 13.2 separately.
So 13.1, 2, and 3,
Three.
we have to do separately for
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
Why don't we start there?
Let's start, let's just do 13.1. Motion.
I'll motion.
Second.
Thank you, Neil. All in favor?
Aye.
I want that 1,300 back. Spent.
Well, and once again, compliments to the finance team. We make it seem trivial, but it's not trivial to have an audit with essentially one finding that
It's positive.
Right.
is so odd that it doesn't even sort of warrant it. So good job to the team.
So, there, that we voted on 13.1,
did.
correct? Yeah,
Mhm.
so we want to do 13.2 and 3 together since they're related.
Yeah, will we be able to have Tim, is he gonna join us on the line?
I'm sorry, yes, I'm sorry, with other focus, I am so sorry. So yes, we have Tim and David Kachnoka on the line. I will put the way down
Perhaps we wait for their
for 13, yeah.
Yeah,
for
sure.
2 and 3.
discussion on this. Would you like a motion?
We should
Should we make the motion?
let's do that.
Okay,
'Cause
so
they're not doing a formal.
So they're not doing a presentation. Okay, let's do it. Do we want a motion 13.2 and 13.3?
I'd like to keep them separate.
Separate, okay. So do I have a motion on 13.2?
I'll move to approve 13.2.
Thank you, Roger.
So David and Tim, so that 13.2 is the sorry. Are you looking at them? Do you see the items on?
A, 13.2 is A.
It's 13.2 is the resolution number 22-23-9 for the general obligation bond series A. So it's the sale.
This is the first of the 3 EE sales.
Right, so this, and the sales for $31 million. Do I have a motion from Roger? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Joanne? And then, I guess.
I would just turn over to
Questions?
David for a quick, maybe an update on this, Reso.
So members of the board, this is David Kaznoka from Straddling the Bond Council. This resolution authorizes not to exceed $31 million of Measure EE bonds. It directs that the bonds are sold on a competitive bid basis. And it approves the form of the documents that are associated with offering the bonds for sale under that method. We also approve in the resolution the form of preliminary official statement. That's a document that includes a description of both the refunding bonds and the new money bonds. And that is a critical document because investors rely upon the disclosure in that document to make a decision as to whether or not to buy your bonds and at what price. The district has strict federal security laws liability for the content of that document, and we cannot misstate or omit a material fact. And as a consequence, the staff has been thorough in their review and supplying us contributions for making sure that document is accurate. The resolution reflects the fact that general obligation bonds are secured exclusively by an ad valorem property tax, that the general fund has no liability whatsoever for the repayment of those bonds. And it confirms compliance with California state law that the proceeds of the sale of the bonds are going to be deposited in the LA County Treasury, invested pursuant to the investment policies of the Treasury Office of the county, and withdrawn by the district to pay bills as you need them. The change in the dollar amount of the resolution, we say not to exceed $31 million. And you probably have heard along the way that that was the expected par amount of the bonds. But subsequent to those revelations, we decided that as a consequence of some of your outstanding Joint Powers Authority bonds that you sold in conjunction with the Centinela Valley High School District, that in order for Wiseburn to satisfy the bonding capacity requirements, not issuing more bonds than a certain percentage of your assessed value, you're constrained at the moment to issue only 25 of the $31 million that are being authorized by this resolution. So you would expect that for this series of bonds, you will end up with 24 million and some change in the bank after transaction costs are paid. We intend to address the bonding capacity shortfall by seeking a waiver from the State Department of Education, which has an obligation to grant waiver requests so long as the application form is properly submitted. So between now and 2 years from now, when the next series of bonds will be sold, and you'll be able to, as I said, 2 years, not 3. If you remember, and Tim can correct me if I've gotten this wrong, the bond plan was another $30 million, $31 million 3 years from now. That issuance can be accelerated to 2 years from now. And instead of being 31, it will be 37. And we'll pick up the last 6 million that were foreclosed on from borrowing at this point. So the waiver process is automatic. You will get it. It's an administrative requirement that the state grants properly submitted requests. So that's a slight change in what you've heard before. All the other information I've provided you about this resolution is identical to everything you've been told previously. The second resolution that you're considering is to authorize up to $29 million of refunding bonds. The thing that you should remember about issuing these kinds of bonds is, number one, 100% of the economic benefit of the transaction must go to taxpayers. The district gets no economic benefit from issuing refunding bonds. The taxpayers get it all. Number two, you cannot extend the maturity date of the bonds being refunded. So sometimes you can artificially create savings by extending the repayment period and lowering your annual payments. You can't do that here. So we are not extending the maturity date of the outstanding bonds that are being refunded. And lastly, as a condition of state law, there must be economic benefit to the transaction. And if Tim wants to summarize what that economic benefit would be as of today or as of the last time numbers were revealed, I'll defer to him in a second. Otherwise, the resolution authorizing the refunding bonds also approves the preliminary official statement. We have one POS for both series of bonds. And that'll be useful to you because it enhances the size of the transaction and ought to have a multiplier effect on attracting investor interest. And these bonds too are going to be sold by a competitive sale. And that's why the exhibits to the refunding bond resolution look similar to the exhibits to the resolution authorizing the new money bonds, because those are the documents that are going to be offered to investors to induce them to submit a bid for the sale of the bonds. And with that, I'll either answer questions or turn to Tim for reminder as to the economics of the refunding.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, David. Maybe I can just say a word about that. As we discussed at our last meeting, the refunding / refinancing this time, it's a little bit different from what we looked at in the past, and that was always on a standalone basis. So this would be, as David described, in combination with the Series A bonds. So we get some benefits in terms of economies of scale. We get some benefits in terms of some savings on transaction costs. We also don't have the situation where we would have to hold the money to pay off the old bonds for an extended period of time. They can be paid off right here on August 1st. And at the same time, the new Measure EE tax kicks in. We can get benefits to the community in terms of some reduction on what's about a $25 to $30 million package of old Measure AA bonds. One thing I'll comment, the savings are very much in line with what we discussed last time. Some of you may be wondering, with these bank failures and turmoil in the financial markets, has that affected negatively bond interest rates for school districts? The answer is really no. Rates have stayed the same, maybe even come down a little bit. One of the things investors do whenever they're nervous is they tend to put their money in the safest types of investments possible. And school district general obligation bonds are one of those safest types of investments. So we're pretty much where we were last time. We said around $2 to $2.5 million in savings. And we talked about a floor of maybe $1.25 million. And if we couldn't get that, we'd save it for another day. So everything David described is consistent and in line with what we discussed at the March 9th meeting. And I'll, stop there, and David and I can answer any questions or be helpful to the board in any way we can here this evening.
David and Tim, thank you. This is Neil Goldman. A number of questions. Tim, I'm curious what the refunding bond was financed at. I'm confused as to the savings. I don't disbelieve you. I'm just unclear because I noticed that the fee could be up to, or in the financing cost with fees could be up to 6%. And were these financed originally at a higher rate than 6%?
No, that's a not to exceed interest rate. We actually took a look at it today, Neil. The average interest rate on the old bonds is about 4.34%. If we were in the market today, we'd be replacing 4.34 with 2.46%. So pretty close to a 2 percentage point drop. So David, correct me if I'm wrong, but we always in the resolution put a very high not to exceed.
Yeah, that was my concern when I saw that 6%. My goodness, we can't come close to that.
Yeah, we wouldn't proceed, Neil, if something happened and interest rates went that high. We would just put it on but right now the realistic delta is about 2 points.
Okay. Thank you. That's very clarifying. A second question, David, you had mentioned that we're packaging these two together to get a better, more economies of scale. I'm not quite understanding the packaging because you also mentioned that the refinance has to stay within the same original time frame. So obviously the EE bond and the refinancing of the old bonds will have different time frames. Are they packaged as separate items in one sale, or I'm confused at that?
Yeah, so the district is issuing a separate series of Measure EE bonds and a distinct and separate series independent of those of refunding bonds. But they are the same credit, the same tax base,
Okay.
The same borrower.
They're not offered in a single package.
They're offered in a composite preliminary official statement. The same investor may not end up winning the bid on both series of bonds. But Tim can correct me if I'm wrong. Bidders tend to be interested when there's more bonds available than when there are fewer bonds available. So Wiseburn will have over $50 million of bonds available. So when the credit review process goes on internally for potential bidders, they can review the credit qualities of one district really offering about 50 million plus in bonds on the same day. So we think of them as separate series. They have separate amortization schedules, but from an investor's point of view, approving the credit, you can offer a little greater liquidity than just doing a $25 million standalone. If you could add a $25 to $29 million refunding piece side by side with that. So when I say a package, I mean composite preliminary official statement where the bonds are being sold on the same day to investors, and both series of bonds are described in a single document.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Tim and David, thank you both for the explanation of these two resolutions. Thank you again.
Sure.
You're
So
welcome.
I have a motion. I have a motion on 13.1 from Roger and Joanne. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. What's that?
13.2.
Oh, sorry, 13.2. You're right. Thank you.
I move
That's why I have it. I mean, it's always.
That's right. I move that we bring 13.3 to.
Okay, thank you, Neil. The motion from Neil on 13.3.
I'll second.
Joanne, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Fantastic.
Pretty, I mean, this is monumental. We're doing it so fast, but pretty exciting.
Do I have a motion on some of the remaining items here?
These chart wells kind of by itself, 3, 13, 4, now
Doesn't have to be,
5, 6.
probably keep 7 separate.
I'll motion 13, 4, 5, and 6.
Joanne? Do I have a second on 13.4 through 13.6?
I'll second.
Thank you, Roger. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right. Next item 13.7, this is the adoption of resolution 2223.23, approving CMAS, California Multiple Award Schedule. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Neil. Second.
Second.
Great. Thank you, Roger. Any discussion or questions?
Just clarify, I guess.
Yeah, that'd be great. Blake.
Yeah, okay. So basically, there's options out there. You want to talk about it? No, I'm just kidding. There's options out there for us to use some cooperative bids that piggyback bids, if you will. CMAS is one of those options. We also are seeing one on the agenda today for Omni, which is Omnia, I believe it is. That's another option to purchase items or materials that were already officially bid or competitively bid, I should say. So we actually put this on the agenda. It'll help us through the process of procurement, onwards. I believe that's a Cherie and Noemi to help with that, but more specifically because we have this purchase from 700, we ended up 700 Chromebooks through SHI, and that was the Omnia purchase. So we wanted to do that, cover that base.
Thank you, Blake.
My other districts have made negotiations with contractors and providers. Instead of having to contract, we can use those numbers to make these purchases. My question is to you, Blake, is the other side of that, we've had the benefit of having piggyback bids where we have made the bid and then other districts can buy, and that provides a financial bonus to us in those cases. That was really wonderful for us during the construction of this building, and I know there was some re-upping of those. Are any left?
I didn't give you an update.
But it seems, yeah,
we
and
could do
and
that.
I just make sure we're not losing any re-ups.
We're not losing, we're at the very end.
Okay.
And I don't know if at the point that we start building other things that we could look at other options to reengage some piggybacks on future projects.
Right.
We definitely would look at that too.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor on item 13.7?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 13.8, approve the purchase of Chromebook laptops from SHI that you were just mentioning. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Joanne. Second.
You have a second.
Thank you, Neil. All in favor?
Aye.
Once again, thank you, Amir and everybody for making this happen so quickly. I know it's important for now and for the next school year, so thank you. Thank you, Amy.
Next item, 13.9, approve additional funds, on behavior consultants. Do I have a motion?
You have a motion.
Thank you, Neil. Second.
About this.
Second. Thank you, Roger. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, action items, personnel, 14.1, consider unpaid leave of absence. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
You, Neil? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Joanne, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 14.2. This is considering a 60% leave of absence for the 2023-24 school year. Do I have?
No, I can just clarify too, so what this means is that this employee is requesting a 60% position, which means that the district then would have to backfill a 40% position for OT services.
How viable is that?
Nisha, I can say it's hard. I don't know, Nisha, if you have any comments.
It's been against her. Right?
Yeah. It's been the policy of the board to not do this.
It would be difficult to to find someone to work part-time, and we would more than likely have to go out to an agency to fill that rather than a district employee.
Significantly increasing our costs.
Increasing cost, and then also because leaves of absences are good for only 1 year. The person that we would hire at 40% would be temporary, right? They wouldn't have, they wouldn't be able to gain permanency in the district.
Given the challenges of the position and what that creates, we'll have to make a motion to not approve.
I'll second.
Motion not to approve, a second not to approve item 14.2. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Blake, upcoming dates and events.
Yeah, so we have spring break coming up. It's right around the corner. Excited. I hope everybody's excited about some time off, or at least some time in a quieter sense. Also wanted to share that, we will have our May testing. We'll be starting here soon. So I mean, it's just unbelievable how close we are to the end of the school year. I mean, it just seems like yesterday. So we are approaching that. I know that, Sarah and Eileen, I know Sarah does a lot of work on this. I do want to give a hat off to Sarah for the work that she does. And so we'll be getting this together coming up. We are going to, let me see here, if there's anything worth me pointing out. No, we have all our open houses, right? So through April, we'll have our open houses at Anza, 138th Street, you see that there. We don't have our next board meeting until April 20th. I did share that, we are working on a memorandum of understanding on the pool and the aquatic center to do some work there. So, I may come to the board and hope we could squeeze a special meeting out if we need it. It'll only be if needed, so I'll keep you updated on that. But then we have in early May, our Cabrillo open house. Those are so much fun because we lost them for a couple years, and just seeing them come back is just a lot of fun. So other than that, we'll just keep going here. I know, Roger, one of the things that you had asked for was a special education presentation. We are working on that. We're looking to do that more towards the close of book. So maybe early July, I think, is what we're targeting to bring that back as we move into the new year. So we'll have a full-on special ed report for the board.
And the budget, budget committee meeting is the April 20th,
3:00.
3:00, right? Yeah.
And Rock Around the Block, what date is that? I'm sorry. 29th, Rock Around the Block is not on. We'll add that to this list as well.
Impose on you to send a reminder about all the open houses, to all of us. Thank you so much.
I know we typically try to avoid this, but we have the open house for both Anza and 138th on the same day, right?
We did. Eileen, you want to talk to that?
It's the greatest, generally the families don't overlap. Because the answer is. So they do both on the same day. And also, I believe, is it on a Wednesday, right? We use a Wednesday because of the shortened day schedule.
Right.
Right.
I think we're done.
Help you out. I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Neil.
I'll second.
Fantastic. Right, that concludes it. That concludes our board meeting. Thank you, everyone.